Hey there. Good morning, or, well, it's good morning to me. I don't know what it is to anybody else. Welcome to the channel. I'm Joe. The channel is Joe Heck, K1LBG. And today's project is a little different than my repair and maintenance. I'm going to try to do something that I've thought about. Probably would be cheaper to just go buy one, but I'm going to try to make one. So let's see how this goes. So here we have a little tabletop drill press someone gave to me, a good friend of mine. He's moving, and I don't need a desktop or tabletop drill press. What I would like to do is make one that is a magnetic base. That's a couple guys on YouTube have done something similar. So I said, why not? So I went and bought Electronics Locks Manufacturing Experts. Electronics Locks. There's a barcode, which I don't think is going to focus. Let's see. Put that up there. No, I guess not. I can't tell if it's focused or not. I don't have my glasses on. But it's a standard door lock. I spent more than I was going to because I bought 3 of them instead of 2. And here's the 3 of them. And they're basically for a door strike, a magnetic door strike. And I spaced them out a little, mounted them to a piece of aluminum. I may put them right next to each other now that I'm thinking about it, because this would require you have a fairly wide piece of metal to stick them to, and a lot of times they're not that wide what you're trying to drill. So I may move these. I think I'm going to have to drill 8 new holes to do that, but we'll see. And I'm at the point where I've taken the bolts out of this. This will come apart really easily. You can spin it around. I haven't decided on the main shaft if I have to shorten it or make it more adjustable. I have a feeling it's going to need to be more adjustable, but we'll see what happens there. So, as I said, I've used a couple chunks of aluminum, and this is going to be my new base. Oh, wrong way. It's going to sit like that. I'm going to get rid of this base entirely, the big one. And then these will mount underneath, like so. The trick is, again, how wide it is. Maybe I'll leave it, see how it really works out, because I can always just flip this thing over and move these. They're 12 volt, and I actually, on this one, milled a slot all the way through from one side to the other so that I could get the, well, get the wires in there without pinching them. And what I've found right now, and again, it will be hard to pick up on camera, but one of these is higher than the other 2. And they also seem to go downhill. So I have to mount these to the base, mount those to the base, and then true these up. I really believe these all have to be in the same plane, which they are not right now. Yeah, this was just cut a piece of 1-inch aluminum that I had into some strips. drill some 832 holes, find some flat-headed bolts. And these actually, they stick out a little, but they're lower than the magnet. So I'm happy with that. I might take a grinder and grind these down or file them down just a little, but I don't think so. I'm more interested in getting this surface totally flat. So, and you can see right now, it is not flat, certainly not that way. And it's possible, it's possible that that table's not flat. I do have a machined surface I'm going to put them on, and I'll show you that in a bit. Well, it doesn't look like much, but this, I believe, is what's called a surface block. It's old, but that surface is supposedly flat, and I mean flat, flat. Yeah, it's got some gouges in it, but I just scraped this down and put a straight edge across it, and I believe it to be a lot closer to any flat surface than anything else I have around here. So let's take the magnets. You can probably hear it. Now the ends, you can't press on the ends because the ends are higher up. But if you go across these pieces, so this is definitely twisted. And how's this piece? This piece seems to be pretty, well, it's got a bow in it. Feels like it's got a bow in it. Well, if I bolt, it must have a bow in it someplace, because it fits flat this way. Well, it could be just junk on it. Let me clean the junk off here and we'll see what happens. Okay, so my base, the base I was going to use and will use, this was not a virgin piece, a fresh piece. It had, actually, it was longer and much wider. In fact, it was basically like that, and it had a piece of angle iron on here. And what happened, of course, it looks like the heat got to it. And see that shiny spot there? That's the high spot. So that was what was making it wobble when I flipped it one side to the other over here. But now, let's see how this side is. Well, it's level enough for what I want to use, so I can use either side. What I am going to do next is, because this is darn near flat, I am going to mount this to here, and then we'll see just how bad these are, because then it'll be really mounted to the surface that I'm using. And I'll have to shim these. One is higher than the other. I think this one is higher. I might actually, underneath this, put it on the milling machine and lower it just by a couple of thousandths, 5 thousandths, whatever it is, to at least get it down to sort of the same level as the others. I could probably put a straight edge across that, but I'm not going to do that until I mount this, because even though this is 1-inch square aluminum, it might have a twist from one end to the other. So let me mount it and see what we end up with. Alright, so we have our plate. Again, this is all without any any forethought, any documentation, any testing. But the back has got just 5/16 bolts in it. And then I used flatheads here only because I think the base of the drill press is going to be up close to those. So I wanted to get those pretty close to flat. I can always take a little bit of a file. But the reason I wanted to make sure that this plate here was absolutely flat was because I was pretty sure this was twisted. And it is. There's probably only, I don't know, 4 or 5 thousandths. But when I'm going to suck that in, and that should make this perfectly flat so I can test the bottom. So let me suck that in with the other screw. So I put the screws in, and that simply says top, just so I knew which way this plate should go. And it seems pretty good. I think there's a little bit of wobble. But now the question becomes, when I turn it over, what does it look like across the three magnets? And it does look pretty good, but I'm going to take a straight edge and look at it really good. See if I need any shimming. I've got to find a good straight edge. I know I have some, so we'll get back to you. Well, I spent a fair amount of time trying to get this all level, and I think I succeeded. In here, this had to come up almost 20 thousandths, almost all the way around. This needed like 5 or 6 thousandths. This needed 10 thousandths. But in general, it's all pretty level right now. And I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to put some power to it. It does draw a little bit. You can hear it. And if I try to lift this, I can't do it with just one hand like that. So it may not be the strongest thing, but it's a good start. Now bear in mind, that's all on I'm going to say pretty much a perfectly flat surface. But it'll be interesting to see what the next part of this brings. A few seconds ago, we were at this stage. I was getting ready to mount this onto the bottom plate. And I figured I'd be done. I could just slip the head on this and do some wiring. There's the power supply over there I was testing with. And see how much force it would take to lift this thing up. My goal was to put a scale on it, put 12 volts to it, see how much it takes to lift, and then maybe put like 14 or 15 volts on it without burning these up. Well, took a major detour at that point. What I decided is I would look at the bottom where supposedly I had these within a few thousandths, and I actually took and I was going to originally put it in the Bridgeport and mill these flat, but I just took a file and cleaned them up enough so that they're really, really close to being all flush at the same time. The center is still about 1,000th low, but that's good enough. But that's not where the major part came. What I decided, I was thinking that this was really a tall shaft for what I was doing. So I decided, oh, you know what? I'll just quickly modify the headstock, whatever you want to call it, and just get it to slide up and down. Well, that didn't work out so well. I ended up taking the motor off, taking the two pulleys off, taking the guard off, there's a pinhole right here that prevented me from sliding this down very far. And I said, oh, okay, let me pull a pin and I'll just stick this on. And of course, this has to be turned around, but I put it in and it hung up right here. And it's because this cast piece is not concentric. And I ground a bunch out. I need to grind a little more out, it looks like. I thought I had this so that it came down. And then I had to poke a hole through this case, kind of shoot it up with a nibbler. And if I want to go any higher, I'm going to have to drill a hole through the top case and hope that the belts go around it. So that's where I am right now. I'm working on this. I thought I had this all nice and easy. When I get done, there are 2 set screws here. I may make one of these a thumb screw so I can adjust this. Can't use this again, this hole here, because that's hidden behind the plate for the motor. So yeah, so I got this mounted. Worked out fine. But that's really as far as I got besides working on this head. And something I did not mention, which I was going to in that little blurb, the start of a new day, is it doesn't look too bad right now where I've been working. Well, that's only because I just put away over 40 tools. Wrenches, pliers, screwdrivers, punches, Allen wrenches, rulers, knives, magnifying glasses. So today's a fresh start. Files, drills, drill bits. So today's a fresh start. We're going to see how it goes. Alright, so this won't stay up there. Or maybe it will. I put that up there about like that. I put some masking tape in here. Sprayed it with my blue marking compound spray, markup compound. Put this on. And then pressed it and twisted it a little to get the top of that into here. So now I know where I have to cut out to get this to go down really low on this post. So what I'm going to do is probably find the center, drill a pilot hole, and then or I may just go for it. I'll have to see if I've got a hole saw that size and try to center it. So let's see. So I did actually mark the center. That the bluing came off. That was 1 3/4 inch diameter, so at 7/8 I put a center And then I started drilling it, and you can see it's going to be pretty close to where I had my hole. It's a little off to that side. I see the mark right there. And on this side, it's probably pretty close to being on. So I think that's close enough. We'll try that again. So I'm getting ready to bolt this all back together. I have my hole in the center of this. Not in the center, but where it needs to be. Had to grind out a little bit on the back. I didn't quite get enough clearance as I wanted, but it's close enough now. So now I put this on, getting ready to do all this. But the problem is these bolts, which are supposed to act as the hinge, true, it's not going to move much, but this motor does have to move and it may vibrate. So these may back out. There's nothing holding them in. No set screws, no lock nut on the bottom. So I put a little bit of Loctite on them. Hold them in place a little more. It's Loctite blue. I don't think it's permanent, but it should keep them from vibrating out. So next I have to do this panel. There's 2 grounds in the back, and then 4 bolts here, which are 2 different sizes. So I have an assortment down here. I believe these are for the ground, and these are for the cover. So let's see how that goes. Well, here we are. I think we're done, or at least for what I'm doing for today. I use what they call power poles to make it easy to take the power supply off. I'm using an 18 volt 2.5 amp. It's actually probably putting out about 16, maybe a little more. And this takes about 1.55 amps. It was at 1.13 at 12 volts. It has a little more oomph doing this. What I think I found out is this column is unnecessarily, well, maybe it's not unnecessarily. This may be too far forward, which gives it an advantage. When you're pressing down, the mechanical advantage is a little tougher. If I were to move it back, a half an inch, which is probably all I can get to for it to here, move that bolt back probably not even a half inch. So I was thinking if I move this column back a little bit, but then I wouldn't have the space here, and maybe I don't need the space there. Maybe what I'll do is I'll move it back and make 2 spots for it to sit. I could do that. Because I mean it holds. This is on a really flat surface, and I did not hook up I just plugged it in. I did not hook up so it takes a little bit of pressure. So I think we can drill holes with it. It's not a professional one, that's for sure. But it's better than nothing. So I think, especially if you take it easy, it'll work pretty good. So there we are. I'm not going to burn this out. I'm going to shut that off. There we go. The on-off switch is unplugging the AC. Yeah, I'll have to wrap this up a little or tighten it or do something with it, this wiring. I'll have to do something. But the tough part is done. I put a clamp on here for now because it's a little tough to undo the screws and hold it in the right position, so I can pre-position it. And I've got to fix this. This is cast, and that thread is actually worn out. So I may just drill that out to a much bigger size and put a bigger screw in. I think a nice 3/8, 7/16 hole would be a lot better. It would certainly hold better. But that I'm going to do off camera. I think I'm done. I'm going to publish this for you guys. Yeah, it was a lot of work. Don't know if it was worth it. Probably should have just bought one for a couple $100. But I guess it was fun building most of the time. There were some aggravations with it. But it does work. It holds pretty good. Certainly you can drill, you'll break some drill bits if they're smaller. And the way I've got it built is if I want to use smaller drill bits in here, I can just lower the whole headstock down, which I think is a great thing to have. So there it is. Now I still have to clean up some more. Always cleaning up, putting tools away and the like, and making adjustments. But I think that's all going to be off film here. Well, I had finished this video and actually said my goodbyes, but I hadn't published it. And while I was editing it, I said, you know what? I've got to do some finish work here. So, number one is right here. You can see that at least on the highest setting, and probably on all the others, because as this pulley goes down in diameter, this one's going to come up. So the center, which is about there, will generally stay about the same. So I think we're going to just clear the belts, or maybe lightly hit them. I actually chained up the chuck key so that it stays with it. I put a on-off switch on for the magnet. Put some some wire loom covering on it. And last but not least, I took this guy and turned him around. Instead of the single screw being out front, it's now in back. So that moved it back almost 2 inches. And what that gave me is basically 2 inches in between here, which means I could spin a 4-inch drill. And most of the others say you can spin 2 inches. So I guess I've got plenty of room here compared to the others. And what I'm going to do is turn on the magnet, and I'm going to it's pretty, yeah, it's a lot better than it was. So I think I've fixed or completed my job here. You can put a lot of force on it now. I took both of these set screws out and put 3/8 fine thread in there, retapped them so they're nice and tight. That's not going to go anywhere. Not going to bother with a bolt in the back because all the pressure is always this way. You know, you're pushing up on the front. That doesn't do too much other than keep this base from snapping off, but I really don't think it will. I might put a bolt in at the end sometime, but you know, it really it works really good now. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to insert this into my edited film. It'll be a little out of place. So thanks for sticking it out. I wouldn't have done it if this wasn't a freebie from my friend. I think it's like $70. So 70 plus the 60 for the magnets is 130. Just a little bit more. I might as well have just bought one. But because I didn't have to buy the head and the mast and all that, it was a good time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. I don't know what else they tell you on YouTube to do. For paid channels, that all makes sense or helps out. For me, it really doesn't. It just the feedback is good to see that someone's doing more than 30 seconds of watching it. All right, guys. You all have a good one, and we'll see what I dream up the next time.